Aye.
Thank you. We will now convene the June 15th, 2015 study session. Welcome, and I again note that Councilmember Glover is appearing telephonically. First item on the agenda is to review tonight's regular and special council meetings agendas. Upstairs we will have a regular council meeting, and then for the purpose of adopting the budget we will convene a special council meeting. So I think, Council, you have the agendas for both of those meetings. Currently there is nothing off of the consent agenda for our regular council meeting. But please take a look at that and let us know if you have any questions. Item 3 are liquor license applications. Item number 4 are various purchase contracts.
I just have one quick question.
Yes, Mr. Richens.
On item 4H, do we self-insure on those accidents? The Tahoe that was totaled? We're replacing a police vehicle that was in an accident. The driver was okay, right? Anyone, please? Anyone? Let's ask about the...
Councilmember Richens, I can address the question regarding the insurance. We have, for our property value or our property insurance, we cover the first $50,000. We're self-insured. Beyond that, we can make a claim. I don't know specifically on this one, but typically we do pursue insurance for property damage over $50,000. I can look into this specific item and let you know.
Okay, but we don't have coverage that just covers the vehicle.
Yeah, based on this identification here, it came out of the vehicle replacement fund, not out of the insurance.
That's correct, Mayor. Councilmember Richens. We have identified for the police department there are a certain number of vehicles that are not able to be continuing into the following year. And we have put in our vehicle replacement program some funds available for those, and that's what this comes out of, is that kind of average number of vehicles that we go through.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
This isn't the first time this has happened.
Shocker.
Thank you. Thanks. Any other questions related to anything under agenda item 4, other purchase contracts? Agenda item 5, taking action on 3 different resolutions authorizing the city manager to enter into agreements. And agenda item 6, introducing an ordinance. And 7, receiving public comment on another ordinance. And 8 is the fiscal year audit plan. Council, any questions about those? Okay. If not, then yes, Mr.
I know
Brady.
we're moving really fast.
Yes.
But we thought it might be interesting if you have just a moment to hear a little bit of a presentation on 5C. Let's just talk about what we're doing here with this underground storage project. I mean, we a lot of talk about water and what we're doing here, so let's just kind of give a figure. Since we're moving pretty quickly, we might have a little time. It'd be helpful to understand this.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we'd all appreciate that. Welcome.
Welcome, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Brian Draper. I'm the Water Resources Advisor for the Water Resources Department. I'm Bill Taebel with the City Attorney's Office. We're here to discuss the Granite Reef Underground Storage Project and the amendment of the GRUSP IGA. We prepared a slide presentation for you. Hopefully you've had all opportunity to see that. In particular, I want to draw attention to the cover page of the presentation. Thanks.
Go ahead and just talk, and then she'll catch up with you.
What you see there is GRUSP in action. We have 4 basins there receiving water for active recharge into the aquifer. On page 2, you see an aerial depiction of the project. Outlined there, you see the 7 basins. To give some perspective, you have Gilbert Road there bordering on the west. You have the Loop 202 bordering on the north side of Mesa. Of course, you have the river channel there. And just to give you some perspective of where this resides, of particular attention, we have the SRPMIC landfill, which does dictate some of the operation of the GRUS facility during times of recharge. And Bill will maybe touch to that a little bit later on. So we threw together some bullet points that we felt were of great importance for this project. Going through those, originally the 7-party agreement was signed in February of 1993. It was the first major recharge facility in the state and one of the largest of its kind in the whole nation. In the 20 years of operation, we've recharged 1 million acre-feet of water underground. Mesa is half of that at 500,000 acre-feet. So we've definitely maximized the use of this project to our intent. Just to give you some perspective of how much water that actually is, 1 million acre-feet of water is enough to fully fill 14 Saguaro lakes. So if you've had opportunity to go to Saguaro Lake and enjoy that reservoir. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Bill to kind of talk about some of the legal aspects.
So before we get into the, I'm sure, the exciting part, Mayor and Council, if you recall, some of us were at the governor's, or the,
SRP.
East Valley luncheon last week, and talked about that distinction between what Arizona's done versus maybe a state further to the west of us, and planning for drought and water management. And if you recall, there was a lot of discussion about this banking of water. And I really kind of just want to highlight, we don't have to spend a lot of time, is just to point out that Mesa's played a big role in that. And you just heard the capacity or the amount of water, underground water, that we have been able to store that is, again, if you would, a credit against drought conditions for Mesa in the future. So it's been a really great program of forethought, looking out into the future and putting in place. So, Bill, maybe you could just quickly just tell us what this amendment does. Why is this before the council today?
The amendment is, in short, to extend the operating agreement that governs the Granite Reef project. That agreement actually had a specific provision that tied its term to the lease of the space on the reservation. And it also had a specific requirement that it be amended to extend the term. So in order to extend the term, we need to have this amendment number 1. The original agreement also had a specific provision that SRP would act as agent in negotiating the lease. SRP did act in that function. They negotiated a new lease with the community for the land that the storage project is on, and with input from the other parties, we had an opportunity to comment. And so this amendment will incorporate the new lease into the operating agreement, and then extend the term through the year 2032. And that's the long and the short of it.
So, great news here, good story. Mesa's being very wise about looking out for future water needs. It partners up with our neighbors to the north, our Indian community. So we have a great partnership there on a variety of fronts, but this is certainly one that sometimes kind of maybe go unnoticed about the opportunity to use their land to help provide for Mesa's water future. And then again, our strategic partnership with Salt River Project and helping make this happen. So this is kind of one of those, it's one of those items we pass by very quickly, but frankly, for the future of Mesa and planning, it's pretty significant. I just thought this was an opportunity to highlight that. So thanks to Bill and Brian for bringing that forward. So thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Very, very timely discussion. Quick question. The source of the water, is that coming from our wastewater treatment plant?
Mayor, yes, it is. It's coming from our Northwest Water Reclamation Plant at Dobson and the 202. And so there's a pipeline that runs along the 202 and then discharges into the Hennessy drain there. Mm-hmm. And I know Councilmember Finter's had opportunity to tour the facility. And if anybody would like to do so in the future, hopefully in the fall time when it's cooler, we can definitely arrange that and have you provided a tour.
So not only does it provide for a beautiful backdrop for spring training, but it also provides for water, future water supply.
Wow. It's a twofer. All right. Thank you. Council, any questions on this presentation? Gentlemen, thank you very much. Great story. Okay, so I think we're good discussing our agenda for the regular council meeting. Any questions, council, regarding the agenda for the special council meeting? Again, the purpose of this meeting is to adopt the budget. Just a couple of agenda items there. If there's no questions on that, then we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is approval of minutes from the May 28th and June 4th executive sessions. Is there a motion for that? Second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It passes unanimously. Item 3, acknowledge receipts of minutes of boards and committees. Is there a motion for that as well? Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Next item is to hear reports on meetings and or conferences attended. Council, anything you'd like to highlight?
Dennis, you want to cover National League Cities first? Sure.
Last week, a number of the council attended summer meetings of the National League of Cities. The steering committees were in full swing, operating there. We also the advisory council for NLC was meeting at that time, and I serve on that. And there were some very good tours that Salt Lake City had arranged for it. This is a continuation of a policy that NLC started a couple of years ago of bringing all the committees together in one place when they're having their summer board meetings. So there were some joint meetings between the various committees, and Mesa is well represented on the issues. And so I think it was a very productive time. We learned about some very interesting things in both the advisory council and the committees that we served on. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be we already have some agenda items ready for staff that I'm sure will cause them to run scurrying. So that's my report.
Thank you. Thanks for council. Thanks for your service on those committees. Any other items under meetings and conferences attended? Thank you.
Where'd you go?
I was visiting our friends at Benedictine last week, and paid a visit to our friends at the Chicago Cubs last week, and both I thought were productive visits. Was able to join with the Mesa Hohokams I'm delighted to congratulate the Hohokams at every opportunity. They do a great job in our community, provide a lot of funds for our youth sports programs. So it was good to join with them and with the Cubs, and then also had a great visit. I think some of you have previously visited Benedictine. This was my first visit. That's a great partnership there. That's a great institution. Look forward to continue and have a great relationship with them. If there's nothing else, Mr. Brady, scheduling of meetings and general information.
So, Mayor, can I just go back a little bit, because this item that we moved over pretty quickly goes back to property taxes, and when there's a public hearing tonight. So let's make sure council is very comfortable with what we're doing. I think it shouldn't surprise me, but can I have Candace just come forward and just review that item real quickly with the council? Because again, in order to maintain the tax levy that we've always talked about, that's been published when we went out for bonds, we do have to make a few adjustments in what will be publicized with the rate. So Candace, this is a schedule that we bring every year, but I just want to make sure council sees this before we go upstairs on the public hearing.
So, Mayor and Council, here with me today is Ryan Wimmer. He's Deputy Budget Director, and I'd like him to kind of just walk through the levy and the rate and how that would be produced. The public hearing that we're having tonight is really a twofold. It's a public hearing not only on the budget itself, but also the property tax levy as well.
Good evening. Historically, there's a couple different values out there that are used for property tax. One is the secondary net assessed value, which is used for secondary property taxes, which is what the city of Mesa has. And there's also the primary value, which is used for primary property taxes, which the city of Mesa does not have. In 2012, voters approved a constitutional amendment, as we heard, which takes effect next fiscal year, that changes the way property taxes calculated. It changes the basis for valuation from the secondary or full cash value to the primary or limited property value. The only difference is that the limited is limited in how fast it can grow year over year. So because of that switch from full cash value to limited value, you can see that although values are increasing quite a bit, property values, the value being used this year versus the value that will be used next year is actually going down, is actually being reduced by the 2%, by 2%. And so in order to keep the levy, the amount that we collect in a fiscal year flat, to keep it the same, we have to increase the rate by 2%. So you can see, since the levy is declining from 2.8 to 2.76 billion, the rate would increase from 1.1853 to 1.21, so $1.18 to $1.21, in order to keep the levy the same.
So it'll generate the same amount of tax revenues. Now, if we had, if that amendment had not been in place and we'd been using the secondary full cash value, with that 19% increase, we would actually been recommending a rate reduction, because the value goes up so it can compensate, and then you can lower your rate and generate the same amount of revenues. So again, we always focus on the levy, and we can't collect any more revenues than we can use to pay the debt service. That's the only thing it can be used for. So it's a pretty simple formula for us. But again, it changed that base value, and it affect, I think as I understand it from Ryan, what the difference between the full cash value and this limited value is, we'll eventually get the benefit of those increased values. It just is spread out over a period of time. It kind of is governed a little bit more, as opposed to having these large fluctuations. Is that a way of saying that, Ryan?
Yes, the full cash value increases with the property value, but the limited value can only increase by 5% a year. So it has a dampening effect, but eventually it should catch up unless values are really increasing more than 5% year over year.
Anyway, that'll be presented. Just want to make council aware of that. Just it's a 2% difference, but it is a little slight change. Again, it's only compensating for the change in the assessed valuation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I know staff came by, I think visited with all the council over the last week, and I know I think we received individual presentations on this at the staff level as well, so I think it's something we understand. Thank you very much. I think that concludes the items on our agenda. I would. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thursdays, Thursday, Mayor and Council will have the interviews for. We have the 5 candidates coming in for interviews for city attorney's position. So that's what we'll be doing on Thursday morning.
Great.
Thank you.
So we'll see you back here Thursday morning. If there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Thank you. We are adjourned.